Welcome to Inside Gaming Podcast. I'm John.
Good name this time, Adam. Hi.
Oh, I'm Rob. God damn it. I thought we might have been going around in circles.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure you introduce yourself.
British humor. I love it.
I'm Bruce.
Good. We're going to switch this up. We're going to kind of do a two-parter for this episode. But before we get started, super good, exciting announcement. We're back on iTunes.
Oh, we did
Yay!
it.
Yes.
I got a podcast on iTunes.
We
did it, Apple.
I know. Jeez.
Thanks for fucking us.
We love you when you do that.
Good job to Lawrence for getting that back up.
Love Lawrence.
All right, so starting us out, actually, very quick, just because this just happened right now, Don Matrick is now the CEO of Zynga.
Sounds like a
Zynga.
joke.
Zynga.
It sounds
It's,
like a
yeah,
joke.
this is dumb as hell, but Rob, I'm really hoping since you're the only professional one here, what the hell does this mean?
Well, what it means for Zynga, God knows, I mean, you know, they're in trouble. But for Microsoft, it's huge that the guy leading something like Xbox One leaves 4 months before that launch. That is just kind of crazy. In addition, there were also rumors that he was actually the top choice for the EA CEO job, which is currently open, and that's also where he got his sort of start. So that would have been also an obvious fit. What it means for Microsoft is kind of unclear right now because we don't know if this was a preemptive based on concerns even above Matrix's head about the problems, fuck-ups over the announcements and the DRM fiasco, or if this was, you know, some natural sort of evolution. It's just weird timing to think it's a natural evolution.
Yeah.
Is it ultimately going to be negative or positive that he's gone from Microsoft now?
It really depends on who they put in his place and how much time they have to actually do something.
It's Julie Larson-Jones.
Right.
Who
that's
worked
the-
for
the hub
who has been working on Microsoft Office for like the past 5 years. I know, yeah. She knows spreadsheets.
It's a weird choice.
Well, Microsoft moves around execs within departments like that. That's not unheard of at all. Obviously, yeah, she's not, you know, a gaming person, but the interactive entertainment division, which was what Matrick was president of, was broader than just Xbox. But you know, for gamers looking at Microsoft, and he's the guy that was on stage at the reveal. He's the guy on stage at the announcements to leave 4 months before. Is just plain weird.
Yeah, that's right. It seems really bad. I mean, like, I don't think there's any other way to look at that.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that it's good news is for Microsoft just because they've now got to reshuffle, and when you've got the guy that's in theory dictating, I mean, you've got to assume that Xbox One is on a path that's not going to change.
Right.
You know, at this point, even though they did manage to flip the DRM situation, they are in general on a hardware and software path that could not be changed in this next 4 months.
Right.
But from a sort of general leadership perspective, who's now steering that ship?
Is there a real possibility of Zynga just offering him a lot of money and he was like, okay, yeah.
I heard he's getting paid in all stock.
Yeah, it was
It
mostly a
wasn't,
stock
it wasn't
deal.
pushed out?
Oh, push out of Microsoft? Possibly. I mean, when people quit, they typically don't just quit.
Right.
You know, unless it's at a small company. When it's a big place like that, obviously there's some pressure from somebody. And E3 didn't go over that well.
But you've got a billion-dollar company like Zynga, you've got a billion-dollar company like EA, both looking for CEOs. And if you want to make a splash at either of those companies, it makes sense that you would approach somebody that has, you know, what looks like a 20-plus year very positive track record.
Right.
So it might just be, hey, it's time. I've done this for 6 years. But
Interesting. So we'll know more later.
yeah, I
basically.
mean, we'll know more when they put in, you know, they get that new person absolutely in the chair who says, well, you know, nothing's changed because we already had all the plans there.
Oh, this is how they're getting Farmville in the Xbox One.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
about
just
time.
figured it
That's
out.
the most important
waiting
question.
for it.
What's going to happen to Farmville, Rob?
What's our topic this week? I forgot.
We're actually talking about number one question everyone asks: how to get in the video game industry, or how we got our jobs doing video games.
Are we
for
in
a
the
living.
video game industry? Is that a clear distinction?
We are not making them, but we are fucking around with them.
Right.
In the video game.
That is a technical job title. So I want to see actually how each one of us have actually made our way into.
We should end with him because
Since-
he'll probably have the best story, in my opinion.
Yours is interesting. I like your story. You
Okay,
go
yeah.
first,
So,
Bruce.
so my story is we discovered G4, the channel G4. I think it was back in 2002 on cable, and me and a bunch of my other fucking nerdy friends. That's all we did was play LANs and like video games and like, you know, GoldenEye, all that other shit. And we found a channel that was dedicated to video games.
You found it or you founded it?
We found.
Okay, you're
was
not the guy who
mining.
created
We did
G4.
not create
Found
G4. No, we found it on cable, and I was like, "There's no way! I can't believe there's an entire channel dedicated to video games." So 2 years later, I moved to Los Angeles, and I applied over and over and over and over and over to G4 to a bunch of these positions I was not qualified for at all. But I just kept sending my resume in because I was like, I really want to work there. Finally, a girl named Monica in HR at G4 called me, and she was like, "Hey, stop sending me resumes." And I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry." She's like, "But I have a position for you that I think you'd probably be good for."
Which boy?
Yeah, it was best boy
Answering
for Kevin
mail.
Pereira. No.
It wasn't answering mail of all
What
the
were you
resumes being
doing?
sent by everybody else.
I know, right?
Well, because a lot of people I don't think know this. I think you produced the segment Gadget Prawn.
Right. So,
But before that, obviously, that's not how you started.
well, so how I started was they actually put me when G4 and Tech TV merged. I got put into the tech lab as a product coordinator, and they let me start reviewing products because I have a computer science degree. And it was one of those things that I was like, great, like perfect. And I just got hired there because I applied a lot. I didn't know anybody there. I just kind of walked in.
It's kind of like dating, just brute force.
It
You'll
really
get in
was-
there.
It was
Just keep trying.
eventually. You just got to keep trying. So, but then my career just kind of goes from there. I went from Tech TV to, and then I went to Attack of the Show and did Gadgetron for a while, and obviously here, and and I've been at AOL games and stuff like that. But either way, I just I blitzkrieged my resume.
Weren't you? You were between
You're an
three
epic
jobs.
Well, yes. Well, I was. So then, actually, when I got hired at G4, I got calls from 3 different places all on the same day. It was G4, EA as a tester, and Best Buy as Geek Squad, because I was like, I need a job. I was unemployed for like 2.5 months, and I had to choose on my birthday actually, and I ended up choosing G4, and I feel like that was the right decision.
I think that was
Yeah,
probably a good
so
call.
far,
Yeah, because that was like back when you were in 2004. If you were an EA tester, they were just like abusing you royally. So I didn't do that. So
So if you want to send all your resumes to Machinima, send them to Adam
Reed.
Kovic.
It doesn't work that way.
way.
Go through proper channels, which I don't know if those even exist.
so that's my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. All right, what about you?
Similar story for me. I mean,
You berated them?
almost, yeah. My goal was to work at G4. This was back when Attack of the Show and was still kind of what it originally was, and X-Play was, everyone didn't want to kill themselves, and they had a bunch of different shows like Cheat and G4TV.com, and I was like, I wanted to work there. That place looked like the coolest place in the world, and I was from California. I lived in LA, and I was like, I could just go there. And they had the open casting call when Kevin Rose left.
Yeah.
And so my goal was to be Kevin Pereira's co-host. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Realizing I have no on-camera experience, and I fucking just froze in front of the camera, but I wore a Halo shirt, so I was like, hey, hire me. And then afterwards, I just told him, I'm like, hey, look, I know I fucked that up, but I just want to work here. I just want to do something. And it was actually Gavin, who now produces for Jimmy Fallon. Yeah. And he was a super cool guy.
Gavin's a great guy.
Yes, and he remembered who I was. After months later, I saw that they were hiring interns in my college, at College of the Canyons in Santa Clarita. I know some of our listeners and fans actually live there, and so they know about it.
God, I need to hide.
But yeah, they were advertising for internships at G4, so I was like, hey, another way in. And I only got the job there because the guy who hired me lived in Santa Clarita and wanted to carpool someone into Santa Monica, and he needed someone to get in, but it was my way in, and I worked in the talent department, booking Bigfoot Hunter every other week to come on Attack of the Show, and I hated it. It was miserable. I wanted to work in video games, but I met a lot of cool people, and you and I were working there at the same time.
We never met.
Yeah,
We were
right.
working at the same time.
And when they had the layoffs, I finally got hired, and it was my first job in. And then from there, I met Tina Wood, who also was from Santa Clarita, and then she got me a job across the street for this small company called Channel M, I was just getting paid $100 a day to do game capture, which was fucking cool.
Yeah, that's
I was
awesome.
like, sweet, I'm getting paid to play video games. This is so cool. And then I was writing scripts, and then I was editing for them. And then she left to go to Microsoft or whatever. But then from that company, they got an email from a small company called Machinima saying, we need people who can play Halo and World of Warcraft. I'm like, I can do half of that. It was only one or two people in a closet right down the street. And I was like, sure, I can help you guys. And I've been here ever since.
Wait, so how long were you interning with them?
About, I want to say maybe 6 months, a year, something like that. It was, yeah. I mean,
that's like without pay. So you were working.
no pay.
That was
Not
a
at all.
part-time
I
gig, or-
I had 2 internships. I was working there, and I was doing video casting at another place. They did all the casting for Ghost House Pictures, which does all these like low-budget B-movie horror. They're doing better stuff now, but back then it was really shitty. And they fired me because after a while they had to pay me. They didn't want to pay me anymore. So yeah, 2 internships, and then I had a full-time job, or I had a part-time job at a clothing store where I met my wife, and then I was also going to college. So yeah, you have to do a lot of stuff, and hopefully something will stick.
I was going to say, at least you did it the right way, or just gradually fell into it instead of just berated him like nonstop.
Well, I mean, yeah,
email.
I tried to get in some way or the other, but then, I mean, also, I'm a college dropout. I got hired when I was an intern at G4, and I said, well, this is what I want to do. I want to work in television.
You just
I want to
gave
work
up on your education. You're like, fuck it, I don't need to do it anymore.
I didn't know what I was going to school for. I couldn't figure it out. And I'm not saying, I mean, obviously Bruce has a degree. I don't. It's however you want to figure it out, because I knew what I wanted to do at that point. I was like, okay, this is where I'm going. I found my path. It was a gamble, but it was like, hey, I went with what ended up, I hope, is right. So far, so good.
In my opinion, I don't think those kinds of things are gambles. I think the more that you try, again, my brute force approach, it wasn't because I was just spamming them. It's because I had the degree and I knew I wanted to work there and I knew I had the passion. So it was like, if you have those things and you keep trying, it will catch. It's going to. You just can't stop. You can't stop trying.
And be nice.
And,
that's the other thing.
Yeah, that's true. And be a nice person, obviously.
Yeah.
And then you got a job here because I
you.
gave you one. Yeah, I actually, in some weird way, I grew up with John.
That makes it sound really creepy.
Didn't grow up together. It was like I met you, I think, after I'd finished high school. So
I was
actually,
gonna say, we knew each
G4
other
and
through-
you were happening around the same time.
Yeah, it was like we knew each other through high school. I went a completely different direction because I was going down for video editing, the dream of being a director and all that stupid shit. And
There's no dream is stupid.
Yeah,
John.
no name is stupid, John, except for being a... Never mind.
nope, come on.
Go ahead.
But luckily from knowing Kovic, and we have a bunch of films together of him shooting guns in my backyard and at the old machinima offices.
Awesome.
He called me up for gigs at Channel M.
Yeah.
I remember that. I did a review for you guys then. And you took me to G4 once, but I forget why.
I don't know.
I don't know. For some reason I was there, and then I remember immediately walking out. It was just not something I wanted to do. And then as soon as you went to Machinima, I remember you called me up again, like, want to come and edit. And I came and I edited one thing, and then I left to Hawaii. I was just like, forget this, and I left the country entirely. So it's like...
Hawaii's part of the country. But
I mean,
go on.
part of the, I left for an island.
Don't think less of
else
us,
in the world.
Rob. This is how we're educated. If it's not attached to the island, it's the main thing. It's a different country.
College education.
Yeah, I don't have one either.
I bet Bruce knew that.
So yeah, I was like, after working with you 3 different times, I just kept walking away. I don't know if it's because I didn't like you or not, but either way, it just didn't work. And then after losing my job in Hawaii, then you called me up again, offering me another job. And so I started working freelance for Kovic, doing a couple little editing pieces, but it wasn't paying enough, so he convinced me to fly all the way back and work full time, and I've just kind of been stuck here ever since.
At that point, I was doing Inside Gaming. We had switched it from Inside Halo to Inside Gaming, so we could be a bit more broad and we can grow the audience a little bit, which ended up working. And it was only once a week, but then they said, hey, what if we do it twice a week? I said, well, you need to give me somebody because I can't do all this myself. Because, yeah, it's
the only one you know is 5,000 miles away.
Well, I couldn't really trust anyone to just like come in. I'm like, okay, here's someone I can at least yell at and not feel bad.
Thanks. Hasn't changed.
But then John started taking over. First it was like half and half, but then John just started doing all the editing, and I was doing the writing and the voicing, and then we'd like kind of mix and match, and then we just the team just kept growing, so it worked out that way, and a lot of good ways.
So mine, yeah, I was like, I didn't even want the job. You just kept berating me with it.
Yeah.
Just like, get
So
over
far,
here.
so far we got 3 different ways. We got
Harass.
yeah, Bruce, who's educated and tried hard.
Yeah.
You got me, who is uneducated, tried hard.
Me
You got
who
John,
just didn't want it.
But knew someone.
and then there's Rob, who's the actual veteran, who's been doing this for how many years?
20.
20 years.
So
20 years.
this is my 20th year.
Wow.
I mean, your earlier point about are we in the video game industry? I didn't necessarily want to get in the video game industry. I was into magazines. Remember those things? You know, the paper
I do.
things. That,
Kind of.
I read your Halo 2 review in OXM. I remember. I read that thing. I didn't pay for it, obviously.
Right.
I went by the. It was near the porno stash at the magazine store, and I remember reading about Halo 2.
Well, I wanted to get into magazines, and I also loved video games. And the idea, and there was a magazine called Crash for the Sinclair Spectrum that was in the 80s when I was in high school. And I just thought, I suddenly had this like epiphany one day. Wait a minute, somebody's getting paid to write in a magazine and make a magazine about video games. That's got to be awesome. I didn't go to college for any of that crap. I did classical studies, no idea what I was going to do with that. Go be Indiana Jones or some shit. And,
That sounds awesome.
which would have been awesome, yeah, I similar to Bruce, I sort of spammed a bunch of these publishers who were, got magazines, and in England, so many more magazines than were over in the US, just for size of country. And I got a rejection letter one day from this company that I'd applied to, and very same day I got a call from them. And I believe that the reason I got that call in the first place to come for an interview was because all the guys at at that office thought that it'd be really funny to have somebody called Robert Smith there because they were all fans of The Cure.
Oh my god!
You're the original George Michael.
So seriously, I got when on this call I got from them in the first place. They said at the end of it, come in on this date for an interview. By the way, can I interest you in a joke about The Cure? And I said, well, you can, but I've probably heard it because that had been a bit of a thing. But that might have been one of the reasons that my resume actually kind of stood out in some. But anyway, then I went in and I prepared like a beast and aced the interview and got the shittiest paying job on a Game Boy magazine.
Did you dress like The Cure when you went in for the
I did
interview?
not.
That would have sealed the deal.
When and why did you come to the U.S. though?
Well, I was fortunate enough. So in '95, when the PlayStation 1 was launching around the world, there were 5 different magazines launching in the UK, and the company I worked for was going to have the shitty one. So we'd just been bought by a much bigger company that was based in the US that was publishing GamePro. And they said, hey, why don't we see if we can send somebody over to the GamePro offices and basically kind of try and circumvent UK PR that was going to go to the Future, official Future magazine that was at Future Publishing, and see if we can get some stuff. So who should we send? Well, they heard this like crazy rumor that the editors at GamePro were like 40. And everybody in the office that I was working for were like, a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds running around, making magazines. And they were like, well, who can we send over that we might think won't embarrass us? And I guess, and unfortunately, the guy that had hired me was not able to go. And they said, do you want to come, came to me and said, do you want to go to the US for 7 weeks? So I did and worked with GamePro. Absolutely loved it. Had to go back, but then stayed in touch. And when Electronic Entertainment Magazine, which is where E3 came from, was evolving to become PC Entertainment and then PC Games, they needed actual game people because all their editors were like, into multimedia and those. Remember those Encarta CDs when CDs were kind of new?
Oh yeah, I had those.
And we were, reviewing all that shit, but they didn't know anything about games. They didn't know anything about PCs, and I was working on PC Mag. So I contacted them out of the blue on the day that somebody quit. And they said, oh, well, maybe that's not such a bad idea. And basically 3 months later, I was packing my bags and shipping out.
Oh. Would you say it's important, though, just with everything that's happened, that you just... Because it sounds like you haven't really had the same job twice, but you've stayed in the same kind of position. How important is it to evolve with the job that you have?
It's absolutely... I mean, look now, I'm working in video, which is where everything is. And, if you're going to school and doing video editing or you're wanting to get into this industry... doing your own YouTube channel just to get going is so much easier. But you have to. I mean, who's really the magazine stuff was great, but it's not the cutting edge now. So.
What other press any kind of press for like an enthusiastic sport or hobby, any for something that's a hobby or whatever. What else has like evolved this fast other than gaming?
No, gaming is probably it. I mean, from the technology, from the way that the audience has grown, the way that the audience is absorbing content, and that's why we've got people out there with millions of subscribers just because people seem to like the fact that they are good at a video game and
it's usually Minecraft, but yes, we get what you're saying.
But the fact that I've friends of the family and they've got kids playing Minecraft and doing like cool things, and I was like, well, are you doing a video of this? Are you putting it up on the channel? And like, well, hadn't even thought of that. Yeah. That's what the media in this space now is.
It's crazy.
So it is crazy.
So our final advice, I think, how would you break it down?
I don't know, because everyone did it completely differently.
But
although this would be a really good time to shout out to Billy Shibley and Landon Robinson, who were just fans of the show, and then they were given opportunities. I forget. Billy won a contest, didn't he?
Billy won a contest. It was him or a stripper. To make it tasteful, I went with Billy. Everyone else wanted the stripper, but we went with Billy.
It was like, and just from meeting him, he became attached to us. Landon's
a great example because he was one of the earliest Machinima directors. He was just a fan of it. He was producing this stuff. He then bugged us in the to use sort of Bruce's method of pushing, and now he's still in school. He's doing stuff for us now, and obviously would like to get something more permanent when he's done.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I mean, also mentioning Billy, it was sad when he was let go. I mean, we don't really talk about that sort of stuff around here, but it's like we went through that shit at G4, where it was. I remember,
of times.
I remember I was there, and I remember half the company was gone, and I just kept my head low, and thankfully I survived because I wasn't making any money because I was an intern.
Well, you got to
And
make
it's
yourself vital. I mean, honestly, one of the reasons I got the chances I did was when I was sat doing, nothing. We'd finished production or something on an issue. I didn't just sort of sit there and play games, twiddle my thumbs. I started learning Quark Express. Dates
Quark.
me further. And some Photoshop stuff, and how the actual production process happens. So you just keep sort of create more reasons why A, you should get hired, or B, you shouldn't get fired.
You shouldn't get fired.
Not to
can't
say
get rid of
when
you,
Billy
you've got a
left
British accent.
it hurt a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
no,
Billy
no.
did a shitload of work, and we miss the guy. I mean, it's like, he's if anyone's curious, he's at Geek and Sundry. He has a job.
I'm sure he's doing much
I
better.
think he's like Felicia Day's professional back rubber or something like that. Yeah, he gives her massages every day.
laying
Son
her
of
the
a
wrong way.
So obviously he's doing something right. Justin Facino, who also left, he's working PR now for Step 3. I saw him at the Bungie booth.
Yeah, which is
He
awesome.
didn't give me a T-shirt. He gave me a Titanfall one. Actually, you're wearing
I
it
am
right
wearing
now.
the shirt right now.
So
actually.
Justin, if you're listening or
I'm
watching,
wearing your clothes.
Thank you for the shirt.
Hey, baby.
it didn't fit me, but John fits snugly in it. It's fine.
Well, before we wrap it up, we should ask one more person in the room.
Oh,
Joel.
hey,
how
pink
he
shirt
got-
villain.
How he got started.
Hello. You can't see him on the camera, but stick your
Come
head
over
out a
here.
little
I
bit.
am wearing a little show.
Just
pink.
you have to
today.
make this really short though. So
yeah.
how'd you get started in the video games industry?
So I got hired to play an elf on X Play's on X Play's Christmas special for 2007 or
And
6.
that's how you get a job in the industry. There you go.
And I was just there, and a friend of mine was the head writer, and he knew I was a writer. So while I was playing an elf on set, he casually mentioned to Adam and Morgan, "Oh, he writes stuff too." And so they had me send in writing samples, and I started writing comedy sketches, and then I just stayed there. So I was freelancing, but they had just fired their executive producer, their first executive producer. So I just took over his desk and just started showing up every day, and then they just kept hiring me on for
You're
more
like
stuff.
Kramer.
I'm Kramer, yeah.
Someone whispered to someone, "He's Jewish.
Yeah.
He's really funny.
Keep him on. Yeah.
He probably knows people."
So I just kind of lucked, and then at Machinima, and then I got G4 or X-Play had crazy layoffs in 2009, and I was one of the guys that got laid off, and I was unemployed for a year and a half, and then I wrote some freelance articles for fucking Maxim Online, and then when they were launching Realm, they knew they were launching an MMO Respawn with MMOs, and Justin Facino also knew that I had been the WoW guy on X-Play, and so he said, "You have one qualification. Come on over."
Little known fact about that job that Joel took. I turned down that job in 2010.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
I did.
Yeah. So important things to remember: try hard.
They like you more than they like me.
Wait, so, try hard.
Fuck.
Make yourself valuable. Don't give up.
Be
And
British.
know
Be
people.
And there are lots of
And be
ways in.
And beat Elf. Don't forget about
Yeah.
that.
There
If you
is
want to write, there are so many sites. Do your own. Write.
Yeah.
And by Dan Amrich's How to Get a Job Reviewing Video Games.
Well, that's not going to be around much longer anyway. This thing, it's an ever-evolving marketplace, and it's a fun place to get a job. It's a hard place to get a job, but once you're in and you work hard and you make yourself valuable, you'll be around for a long time.
I'm gonna get fired soon. Just tell. Well, thanks for
No comment.
Dark.
Does everybody know something?
No, nobody knows anything.
I just get uneasy whenever I'm like, hey,
If we're all getting laid off if that happens.
yeah, no.
That's
We're still an independent company.
Yeah, I know.
We don't have any of that sweet Viacom money. We're just doing what we can do.
And hey, you could be in this industry for 20 odd years.
Like Rob. I look at Rob and I see hope.
I see.
I
Old.
want to be old and Australian playing video games.
He's not Australian.
Whatever.
Close enough. It's that island thing we talked about earlier.
You want to close it out?
We are closing it out.
Oh, we're done?
Thank you guys for
All right.
joining me. It's been a blast.
Thank
Get
you,
us
John.
on iTunes, all that jazzy goodness.
Woo! Yeah, have a good
It's over.
Holiday.
For them. It's over.
weekend,
Oh yeah, it's
It's
over.
over.
Then.
everybody. Oh, we're done?
They already had the good weekend. They already had.